Well, alrighty then. This is episode 60 of the IGC Podcast. Today we're going to talk about some gaming news. We had a whole shitload of games that were debuted either at GDC or around GDC. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, if you thought there weren't any games coming out this year, you are wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You were way off.
I don't know who would think that. This is going to be a banner year for gaming.
It's for sure.
Gotten off to a slow start, but we're kind of getting into it.
Well, there's a lot going on in the industry, and I think it was about time we started seeing some more games that were VR related, and with all this stuff going on, and Sony doing their thing. We're going to talk about that.
That's good, because we've only been talking about that shit for like a year now.
It's true. We have been talking about it, and now we're seeing the fruits of the developers' labor, and some of it looks good, and some of it looks bad. So we're going to talk about that today. Before we do, I'm your host, Gray Geraldin, and with us, as usual, is Core Contingency, otherwise known as Naughtiest sometimes.
Sometimes.
And AI Monster, who I occasionally call Melee.
I'm here, yep.
And Papa is not here due to some work thing, and Seifer is still away.
Probably sleeping.
He very well might be sleeping. So May, you were being very frustrated about some kind of platformy thing just now. What the hell have you been playing the past 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, I've been working a lot of overtime, and I just got a little bit sick, so I haven't been gaming as much as I wanted to. I did finish Grow Home, which didn't take too long. So that was actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that game, probably more than most people would.
Man, and everyone's been getting sick too. It's been a thing.
Everyone's working overtime too, it seems.
Yeah, oh god, you wouldn't know the half of it.
But yeah, I did that, and then I played Valiant Hearts, another short game. It doesn't have platinum, but I got all trophies in it.
I played that a while back. How did you enjoy that one?
I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, you seem to have issues kind of with the games that are huge on like interactive narrative and kind of storytelling.
That's not true at all. I love interactive narrative and storytelling. I love Telltale games.
He just wants Telltale to update the engine. Forever and a day from now.
On that, we cannot disagree.
I don't know. It just felt hammy. And, they didn't really, characters kept coming back to life. Oh, well, no, it was a little ridiculous, I think.
We're talking about Valiant Hearts, right? The Ubisoft game, which was, set in like World War I, I think.
Mm.
Everyone seemed to love that game.
I loved it.
Well, I'm not a fan.
That's your prerogative, sir.
Yeah, not everyone's going to like everything. I know you're more into fighters. Did you and Papa get any rounds in on BlazBlue?
I don't know if I actually thought Papa Nadia started playing.
I did.
Wow, that's impressive.
I know, right? How long have I expressed my severe disinterest in fighting games? But just one of those things happened. AI Monster gifted me a copy of BlazBlue Ultimate Super Duper Edition, and so I busted out the Xbox One controller and have been kind of working under the tutelage of Sensei AI Monster, and I'm getting it. And I don't dislike it as much as I thought I would. It's actually kind of enjoyable, and it's kind of fun when the concepts start coming together and you start pulling off some combos.
Yeah, and the first button and the second button go together. It's fun. Did you buy a joystick, or are you playing like on a gamepad?
So I've got a gamepad right now, and I've been talking about picking up a fight stick, and that actually spurred an interesting conversation the other night. Monster and I were just kind of dicking around in chat about the price of some of these high-end fight sticks, which rival the price of some of the higher end like HOTAS hands-on throttle and stick flight stick systems out there. And I'm just like, Wow, these are definitely niche market items, and they know what the player base who wants these items are willing to pay.
Indeed, they fucking do. I mean, you're talking 300 upwards for like a really nice stick.
Yeah,
crazy.
Like the high end fight sticks, to play fighter games with. Yeah, they can easily go 250, 300.
I think if you get a $150 to $200 one, that's pretty much all you would ever need
to play the one fighting game I own.
It's one of those things
But
where, like, if you know a little bit about electronics and you buy quality products, you can kind of bang a stick together yourself. I did that a few years back in like an old custom case that I had someone sort of drill holes out. It was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but it worked, and I did some turnies with it, and it was all right.
I thought about that. Like, I saw like the components are available, to purchase online, and with a proper little microcontroller, that's very doable. And I actually have at my disposal a certified panel building shop that could probably slap it all together for me if I just gave them like $20-$30.
Save
You
you,
can also-
$200 right there.
Well, sans component costs. But
if you just plan on playing on the PC, you could probably just buy it at one of those $70 sticks. They don't have like all the like Xbox and PlayStation buttons, but
yeah, I'm looking into it. Like, I know, like I can see what kind of button layout that you need, and I'm kind of eyeing some sticks, and then about the $150 range it looks like. So we'll see.
Yeah, and the sticks that were around in the PS3 era, which kind of don't have a market now because they're not compatible necessarily with all the new stuff, they work on PC. Because I have a stick that I bought way back in the day, like probably 4 or 5 years ago, from this company called Arcade in a Box. I don't even know if they're around anymore, but that works on my PC just fine.
Yep. Yeah, it's almost guaranteed that legacy hardware, somebody out there wrote a driver for the thing. It might not be signed, and you might have a beast of time getting it loaded in, but you'll get it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, lastly, just wanted to mention, as Gray was saying, I'm playing Teslagrad, and I'm near the end. I just started today. It's a very short game. Oddly enough, it has a platinum, even though it probably shouldn't. And it just got to a point. Yeah, well, I mean, it's too short for a platinum. And I just got to a point where there was like 20 frame perfect jumps in a row. And I finally got it right before the podcast. So I'm pretty happy now.
Well,
but it was very frustrating.
You sounded like you were about to shit a cat or something over there.
That's how I always sound.
That's for the most part true.
What about you, Car? What have you been up to? I know you're playing Vermintide. I'm sorry I had to go to lunch with my mom, and I would have jumped in.
Yep, Vermintide is the old standby. We're definitely still having fun playing that. New survival mode they introduced. We haven't really had a time to play with it yet, but hopefully we'll get some people doing that. But the big item that I think that came out that I played that neither of you have is Mr. Tom Clancy's The Division.
Indeed, I have not played that.
Hey, I have played it.
You played it? That's right. You played it for about
15
years. I could tell about an hour and then returned it.
Short enough to get a refund.
I think I actually played it for maybe 20, 30 minutes.
We were talking about our experiences, and I was like, from what you were telling me, it didn't sound like you made it all the way through the tutorial. So
I don't know what it qualifies as a tutorial.
Well, there's this kind of intro zone where they're introducing all the game concepts to you, and you're not like on the map proper with the players who have gone beyond that point.
I was with other players.
Yeah.
With the
there are it's like the newbie zones in the MMO. Like there's always going to be other players there, but it's like a completely separate instance of the main areas. Okay. So I put in 9 hours according to Steam in this game, and Lord knows I've tried to enjoy it. I just don't. It's
why is that?
It's boring. It's repetitive and monotonous, and it is just a quest for more stuff. I mean, I don't ever particularly feel challenged in the game.
Well, that's fair.
I mean, that's the gist of it. Like I said, a lot of these missions, they're just kind of on rails, moving through the set path in its own. I don't feel like there's any real branching paths. Then it's they're bullet sponges. Fucking they're goddamn bullet sponges. That's all they are. You're playing a shooter with bullet sponges. You'll be facing 5 guys who all look the same, but this one's orange, and so he gets to take like 100 times more damage than the other guys for no other good reason. It's one of those games.
It felt very much like, the short time I played it, it felt very much like Destiny. It just kind of felt like a game that probably shouldn't be an MMO, and they kind of shoehorned all the MMO concepts into it.
Yeah. See, I didn't play Destiny, but Yeah, the MMO concepts are very present here. You've got gear. Gear has quality levels based on color, white, green, blue, fucking pink chartreuse, whatever, up the entire chain. And of course, the better colors do more damage, allow for more weapons customization and whatnot. Uh, I don't know. I'm burned out on this kind of game, I think. And it doesn't matter how you reintroduce the formula to me, be it through like Diablo or the Division here. It's just not working for me. It works in Vermintide because Vermintide is very fast paced, very skill based. Aim is critical. There are no real bullet sponges. If you see a mob, he's got a set amount of hit points, and he's got other aspects you have to deal with. In the Division, it's just hide behind cover and shoot them in the head when you can.
Yeah, that's another.
Shoot them, keep shooting them, shoot them until they're dead.
Like I find it inferior to Destiny. They both really lack a lot of content for something that's supposed to be an MMO. So you're gonna, from what I understand, you're gonna be done with all the content in the Division within 20 to 30 hours.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, so that's very short. That's even short for a single player game that boosts a lot of content. It's much shorter than most RPGs for sure. But
yeah, RPG wise, I wouldn't say the standard action adventure type shooter game has more than 20 hours of gameplay. You'd be lucky to get like 6 out of a COD campaign, right?
No, and I won't fault it that, but I will fault it on repetitive gameplay, uninspired gameplay, and just a very lackluster, unengaging story.
Yeah, I don't want to bash it too much because there's people in the community who enjoy
I'm not
it,
bashing. I'm just saying this is particularly why I'm not enjoying the game. And like I said, I've got 9 hours into it, and it's just not working for me.
Yeah, but I don't find the cover shooter gameplay particularly appealing. Like Destiny, I love the combat in that game. It's pretty much the only thing I really loved about Destiny. And this combat didn't grab me, and the rest of the stuff felt like Destiny. It has bugs, it has other things that might hamper the experience. So it didn't hook me like it hooked other people.
Yeah, and it hooked a lot of people. And I think the biggest criticism that I've heard of the game in general is, again, like the content sort of not being there, but there's a lot in the pipeline for that, which is great. And I think Destiny had the same issue with the developers maybe not realizing how fast people consume content, and in an MMO type of setup, people are going to play your game pretty much all day, and they're going to destroy your content constantly. So that MMO grind of having dailies and stuff like that, people hate it, but the realization is you're going to log on every day to get it done because there's some carrot at the end of the stick, and that's kind of how the games are designed. And we do have a group here at IGC that actually really loves playing the Division, which is great. I think we recruited something like 35 or so players, and hey, they really like it. Kanya helped get that off the ground. They have a couple officers in there. Most of the credit goes towards them.
Yep.
I was very much like sort of just saying, hey, do this, do that, try to figure things out in sort of the MMO way. And he took it and ran with it. And they've got a good group here, and they all seem to enjoy it. So,
yeah, they do. I popped in and I played with them for a bit. They're all, very stand-up players. Like, I've enjoyed playing with them. But like I said, they are enjoying this game thoroughly, and more power to them. It's not for me.
So that's one of the reasons I didn't really get to play a lot of games. The Division launched shortly after our last podcast, and I was busy working with Kanya trying to get stuff banged out on paper and get that off the ground. And I've also been working on getting a dungeon master here at IGC to run a couple of tabletop campaigns. And I briefly spoke to a candidate yesterday, actually, with Atherin, who's the guild leader for Neutral Impact, who has about 20 years of tabletop experience. So he was able to sit in and kind of talk to this guy about what his experience is and kind of get his finger on the pulse of that stuff. And we're going to see where that goes. But that's kind of consumed a lot of my time and thinking about how to expand the community and things of that nature. So that also reflected in how much news I actually got to put on this document here, which was maybe like 2 things. So I did not play like anything really over the past 2 weeks other than Final Fantasy rating and doing my dailies and whatnot. So that was kind of a shame, but I have the whole next week off, so I'm looking forward to maybe putting a couple hours into that Tomb Raider game I've been trying to talk about and haven't really have a fully fleshed that idea about yet.
No, if it's important to you, you'll make time for it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'll try. I'll definitely try. Since I've I bought the damn game. I might as well play it at some point. But anyway, is there anything else you guys want to bring up here before we move on to the plethora of news here?
No, I think we pretty much covered what we've been active doing.
Alrighty. So let's move right into the news. So recently, PlayStation VR announced their release date. Well, sort of their release window, I guess. And they're the third big juggernaut here in the VR race. And they're talking about releasing in October.
Yeah, where originally they were saying first half of 2016.
Right. So that's a come and gone.
But that's okay.
That is okay. That absolutely is okay. So a lot of this came around GDC, which was very interesting this year. And I wanted to bring this up and talk about this briefly too, because in the past, GDC is the game developers conference. It's where game developers are supposed to come and network with each other and talk about stuff. But this year, we've got some new hardware in the gaming space in VR, and I think every company saw this as an opportunity to say, hey, you know what, we need to show off this new type of game and talk about the types of games we want to make going forward and stuff. And so it seems like all the big companies and all the small ones too really took advantage of showing off, debuting their VR stuff, and we have a whole
except
bunch.
Microsoft.
Except Microsoft, because they're not because they're not doing it, but Microsoft was there talking about this stuff. And we'll mention that later as well. But there's a lot of stuff that came out of this conference, and sort of starting with talking about PlayStation VR is sort of only the beginning of it. Now, the details on this one, if you've been living under a rock, it's coming in October, like we said, for $400, and there's gonna be that and a $500 bundle. The $400 thing is just gonna get you the headset with the external unit, the cabling, all that good stuff to get you started.
Which means if you don't have the requisite hardware already, that $400 package might as well be a brick.
Indeed, right. So the headset still needs the head tracking, and for that, it seems like they're using the PlayStation Eye.
No, there is no head tracking. It needs the Eye for the two controllers.
It's not a PlayStation
for the
Eye.
controllers.
It's called a PS4 camera. The Eye is PS3.
Oh, the Eye is the PS3, right. So you need a PS4 camera, which is basically required to play, right?
Yes.
You need to use the Move controller.
It's about $60. A lot of people have cameras already. I'm not one of them. And that's the only thing that's actually required to play games.
I would say that's a false statement. I would say maybe a reasonable percentage have the camera. I don't think a whole lot do.
Yeah, I don't.
How many games have really came out?
I'm just saying a lot, as in a lot of tens of thousands of people. But
what would you anticipate? Or
most people
the install base of the camera to be
probably about 100,000 at most.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty damn small.
24 million.
Yeah, it's not that large, but a lot of people use the camera for streaming.
I mean, you think about what really forced that situation to transpire, and a lot of it was Microsoft's fault in packing the Kinect into things and putting their price at $100 higher. And PlayStation probably wanted to pack that thing in for some purpose and said, in order for us to make our cost in shipping this thing and getting out to you at a reasonable price, and to be less than the Xbox One, you're going to have to, if you want the camera, get it separate. We're not requiring it for our games. Now, all of a sudden, this thing's coming back around, and people are like, "Oh shit, I need to buy a fucking PlayStation camera."
Well, I brought this up in the the hangout in the podcast, and I was saying Sony did a good thing here. They basically said, "Look, if you already have the camera and a motion controller, we're only going to ding you $400. We're not going to force you to buy another camera and two controllers you don't need." And that's a very good thing. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you have a base PS4 and you want the VR experience, then that $500 package is where you have to go.
Yeah, and the $500 package includes two Move controllers, a camera, and a game. I think the game is also included on the $400 package as well. It's called VR Worlds, and it has 5 games inside it.
I mean, yeah, this certainly doesn't seem bad. I just wonder, and I think AI, you had posted an article about this at some point in the Hangout too, that the PlayStation camera at this point, this thing is almost 2 years, is over 2 years old, right? There's probably going to be some kind of firmware update to this thing, right? Because I mean, when they created it, I don't think they intended it to track the Move stuff the same way, right?
I don't know. From what I understand, the camera works pretty well. So I don't think that's the issue. I think the Move controllers might be more an issue, but people are also saying it works really well as well. But I just don't think it's really set up for VR. It's not as good an experience as say the Vive or even the Oculus controllers that are coming out later.
They certainly seem a little clunkier because, it's like holding like a small torch in your hand, whereas everything else seems sort of form-fitted to your hand or your wrist or something like that.
They most surely do not have the precision of the Vive or the Oculus controllers just because of the way they're tracked.
Yeah.
Well, they're
the
pretty
Vive
precise.
And the Oculus controllers, they've got multiple like infrared LEDs. Like, God, there's got to be fucking like 30 of those things on each of those controllers. So, I mean, the position tracking, and if you watch videos of people using like the Vive controllers, the amount of precision that they can get from those is just utterly incredible. And I simply cannot see the PlayStation controllers replicating that.
Well, you can actually get 1-to-1 precision if the software is correct for the Move.
In that
people have tested it.
In that 5-game bundle, there was one game, and I'm trying to remember the name of it now. But it's like a game. It's like a mafia type game.
London Heist.
That one, London Heist. Now they showed some like shooting the gun in that game, and the way that the person and they also showed like a side split screen of how the player is positioning their Move controller to do that, and it looked really awkward because to me, first of all, the Move controller is tracking just off of that glowing little ball, correct? That's what they're doing.
Yeah,
the camera's looking for that ball.
Yep.
That's another thing at the with the PlayStation VR. You're going to have a room that's not lit at all to play it.
Right, it's going to have to be pretty dark. I just found that the movement.
That's not going to really matter if you're wearing a headset, I suppose.
Probably.
No. It does matter though because your whole room the camera uses a motion tracking. So you're.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying though. You're gonna kill the lights and then put the headset on. So who cares anyway.
But I mean, it don't matter if you have like you have a window or any windows in the room you're playing in. So.
I mean, I don't think that's any different than what at least what Vive has said about covering your windows and stuff like that. Anyway,
right.
At least they're not telling us to like paint our room green or black or something like that.
It could be a small but significant cost.
I mean, I find
to
that
cover windows.
The precision is definitely going to be lower, just based on the hardware feel and look and. I don't know, looking at some of the side-by-side stuff, like it seems like that is going to be much stranger to play those games in, especially when you're talking about how much aim assist are these games going to have if they're shooters and stuff like that. Like I start to wonder about the limitations of this.
No, I don't think. Yeah, aim assist will feel really weird but I don't think it's going to be so much as the tracking can't keep up. I think it's it pretty much gets 1-to-1 tracking. People have tested it. Certain software is having trouble. Like I know Golem was one that was having trouble keeping up. I don't know if that's intended by the developers because you're swinging a heavy sword around. If the lag is intended or not, but it has lag. But most games are getting 1-to-1, so even if you move it around pretty quickly, it seems to work properly. But I think the main issue is the feel of the controller. It's not going to feel as good as the Rift controller or the Vive controller.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could try to clutch it in your hand, right? I mean, but then there's the buttons you have to press on. I mean, I don't know. This whole thing seems a little weird to be using. I mean, the PlayStation Move controllers, these things are pretty old technology at this point.
Yeah, they're pretty old.
6-7 years, right? Or not, if not more.
Mm-hmm. And I'm really hoping that they change the controllers out. They add a new controller later on down the road.
It seems like it might be coming.
I don't know if they are. I mean, from everything that Sony's been saying, they're saying if you invest in this, PlayStation VR package now, that it's going to be viable all the way into the next generation of PlayStation.
Well, sure.
It will.
And we were seeing some strange rumblings right now that there might be like a half generation, but apparently what they're saying is like if you own a PlayStation 5, your VR headset and controls are still going to be just fine.
I mean, viable is a pretty stretchy word. Yes, it'll be viable and that you can use it, but I don't think that doesn't leave room for them to release a more precise handheld, controller like a year from now.
And here's my interpretation of that: the marketing guys got a hold of them.
And I do want to mention that this is really good for anyone getting in the VR. You now have 3 different systems. They're all pretty good quality. I mean, you're not going to be disappointed with any of these. I think. and they're different prices, so you could get whichever one. They have different exclusives and games, so you really have good options now just from these three systems for VR.
Yep, and that's a blessing and a bit of a curse at the same time. So
Yeah.
we do have three major systems, and there are some outliers too. Smaller devs building their own kits. And right now we're looking at three different hardware platforms and three different SDKs. Now Sony is going to be Sony; they're going to do their own thing. But having Oculus and Vive being on two completely different SDKs with different hardware, that's not good for this initial rollout.
Right. I agree.
I think Valve realizes that, and the Steam VR supports Rift, so
that's the thing. Here's the funny thing. So every developer that I've spoken with, they're all saying that the Steam VR package is much easier and more natural to develop for. The Oculus is actually the more difficult platform at the time, and that doesn't surprise me, I guess.
No, it shouldn't.
But the fact that Oculus, is trying to portray this sense of neutrality, like they just want to get these VR platforms out there. They want VR as a whole to be successful, but to see all the exclusives that they're tying up, on their SDK, which is arguably inferior to Steam VR, that's really worrying me.
Yeah, it worries me too, and it's not an issue as much with the PlayStation VR because the PlayStation VR is for PlayStation 4.
Exactly, it's for PlayStation 4.
It's going to be closed no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Vive and running on Steam platform and stuff kind of has a bigger responsibility to make sure that it's compatible with the most amount of games and not try to sell itself as having exclusives. And, we have on here, the next topic is that it doesn't have any exclusive at launch. It has 50 supported titles, and I thought that's what Palmer Luckey wanted was we have to get this into people's minds first, and then we can start shoring up on we have exclusives. But it seems like right out of the gate Oculus has done that, and that's it's a blessing and a curse. It's definitely not a good thing to hold back things that. What if Oculus has the breakthrough game, but the Vive is the one that everyone adopts, for the majority here. It's kind of, it doesn't get VR off on the right foot.
So the good news is there's a barrier, to entry in the cost of these devices, the cost of the hardware themselves, the VR headsets and the controllers, and the cost of a platform to run these on. Like, I think everybody will straight up say this initial rollout here of VR platforms is not going to be wildly successful. Yeah, they're sold out, they're selling now, but those are all the early adopters. What happens in the next 6 to 8 months is going to be the most critical.
Yeah.
Well, they're all pretty much selling at profit now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's thanks to the Oculus for setting the price so high. I mean, I know PlayStation VR was planning on selling them at loss, but they decided, fuck it, yeah, the Oculus is $600. We can release our system at $400. Uh-huh. And it's going to look a lot more attractive. So
yeah. Plus, they know they've got a base of 26 plus million people who are going to think about it. And even if a quarter of those adopt, that's money in their pocket.
Yeah, and I will say, I am a Oculus DK2 owner. I was definitely an early adopter. I have a pre-order in for a Vive, but I will also say anybody who's got a PlayStation 4 right now and is looking to pick up the PlayStation VR, it's a good bet. They're not going to let you down. They've got games lined up for this thing. It's that Sony environment. It's going to run your games just fine. They're going to play well. You don't need to worry about that.
And if anyone was worried about VR not taking off, they should just look at all the games that just came out at GDC, which we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk
because it is a ridiculous lineup coming out.
So many games.
Yeah, I've been trying to tell you, we've got the big name games out there, but there's a lot of independent studios and smaller studios that have a lot of stuff in the works. This stuff has been in the making for 2 years now.
Yeah. When everyone's been sort of wondering how the PlayStation's really going to how that VR is going to compare to the other ones. And we all know it's going to be lower spec and whatever, but it's going to do okay because it's going to have games custom tailored for it, and that's going to work. One of the things we have on our podcast discussion is to talk about how PlayStation VR supports the room scaling. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this impacts it. But after I read through the article, I thought this is good, right? Because no matter what size room you are in, this is going to be a little better in terms of room scaling than sort of what the Vive showed us a couple weeks ago or months ago about, oh, you need a room this big and whatever. Like,
well,
is PlayStation doing that better?
This big, a play area of a certain size. Like the 2 Lighthouse units can only accommodate, so large a square footage.
So the Vive has room scaling as well.
Okay. Is this one doing it particularly better than any of the other 2?
No, it's just the Rift doesn't have room scaling.
No, not yet.
Nice.
So this is just a feature of the PlayStation VR and Vive.
So out the gate, the Vive, if you order the Vive package, you get the 2 Lighthouse units, which means you can set up your room scale play area and move around within it and have fun. So same with the PlayStation VR. I guess they're saying their camera is going to be able to track you and map the room. Right now, we're kind of out in the weeds with Oculus because we don't know what their total control solution is. We know they've got their 2 controllers. And we know that those 2 controllers are also going to require an additional camera. So you're going to have to buy another camera for your Oculus along with the controllers.
It's not coming with that?
Give you the room scale. Well, no. It's coming right now. No. The Oculus comes with the headset, the 1 camera for the headset tracking, and it also comes with an Xbox One controller and some games.
Oh, right. Okay.
But according to Oculus's plans, you will need an additional camera in order to use the controllers and room scale.
Also, people had there was some guy in Twitter who will I don't have the information, but you could actually post a tweet to him, and he will tell you if your room or if you have to move stuff around in your room. He'll tell you what to move around. It'll tell you if it could support VR.
VR
exciting.
Guru.
Yeah, the easiest way to tell is if you could be pretty close to the VR, the actual cameras and stuff, but sensors or whatever you want to call them. But if you could keep your arms out, just take your arms and put it out like a wingspan. And if you could reach out and you're not hitting a wall, then that's fine for VR. That's all you need.
Well,
so it's actually not a lot of space. It's actually works pretty well in small rooms.
I've been under the impression you need like a room for this shit.
Yeah, I thought so too, but apparently not. Apparently you could do it with a relatively small room. Some games might require larger rooms.
Okay.
So that was my project.
Fair. Yeah.
Well, that was my project yesterday while I was offline. I was up at the attic writing new conduit because that's just how I roll. So yeah, my electrician came out and dropped in a new 15 amp circuit, and I've been running the conduit through the attic to drop gang boxes catty corner in my office, my gaming room. So I don't have to plug my Lighthouse units into the fucking wall and have big old ugly cables hanging down.
Very nice.
Yeah, well.
I just replaced all the light switches in my house.
Yep,
that was it.
Too.
All right.
Yep, I'm getting ready for the VR here.
Well, we're going to talk a lot more about VR later in the show with all the games that we just mentioned briefly. Let's talk a little bit about Microsoft. So they have made an interesting little power move here. They state that they are now open to any cross-platform play with any game as long as the developer is willing to go and do that. That includes presumably cross-play with Nintendo, with PlayStation, with PC, etc. And this is kind of backwards to what everything they've been saying up to this point is, because we could take Rocket League as an example. Rocket League just launched on Xbox One not too long ago, and the entire community for that on Xbox One is only Xbox One. It doesn't even cross-play with PC at this point, although that's coming, they say. Whereas when Rocket League launched on PC, it was already cross-compatible with PlayStation 4. So what does this tell you about Microsoft, guys?
They know that their system's not doing well, and more people are buying PS4. So as a result, if people want to play together, they're going to have to buy PS4s, and they're like, oh well, maybe if we allow this crossplay thing, people will still buy an Xbox One because they want to buy whatever console they want to buy.
I think it goes beyond that. They're hoping they won't go buy a PS4 and thus keep the attach rate, for their Xboxes higher.
And they're really trying to push that whole PC, like Windows Store PC, Xbox One sort of integration thing.
Yeah, we talked
at the
about
same
that
time.
last podcast.
It's very, very interesting. This almost sounds like the beginning of an "I Have a Dream" speech, where in the future gamers won't think about what platform they can play with their friends on, because no matter what they buy, they'll always be able to. But I think that's still farther in the future than Xbox is sort of letting on to here with this kind of statement.
I think, honestly, Microsoft has a much longer term goal than anybody's given them credit for. Like the Xbox hardware platform itself is out there now, but we're seeing them to start to tie it together back with Windows. And we've been talking about this for a long time, with Microsoft just neglecting the PC side of things. But within the last 6 months here, with Windows 10 and this unified architecture and games suddenly that were Xbox One exclusives now becoming Xbox and Windows exclusives. This is some pretty good signs from Microsoft, actually. They may have lost this battle, but I think they're setting themselves up to win the war here.
You're right.
Well,
they might.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that they've been losing the battle because they had all these shitty policies, and now they're finally on equal level with Sony. I mean, Sony was pretty much always been, I believe they've always been interested in crossplay, but Microsoft was always the one disallowing it. I know they did for Defiance, and I believe they did it for Dust 514.
And for
and I agree. But if you look at what Microsoft's done, where Microsoft Gaming has always been a very segregated unit, like games, Xbox, production, PC, period. And now we've covered these articles in the past where the PC is the most profitable game platform on the planet at the moment. And it may not be like the high-end AAA games on the PC, but as we're seeing these the PCs develop here, they're more and more capable of playing these types of games. So developing this unified architecture between the Xbox and the Windows 10 environment and Windows 10 going forward, they're setting themselves up to actually have a larger market than even Sony has.
Yeah. Well, don't forget they've been doing this before, and with the games for Windows Live, and that fell.
Yeah, it sucked.
Well,
we know it sucked.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
This one sucks too, so far.
Yes, but it seems this time they're more willing and aware of the issues like VSync problems, like SLI issues, and willing to work with dealing with those things so that when a game comes over to PC, even though if it's on the Windows Store, it's not going to be the same version you'd play on your tablet necessarily, that it will be a different version. I mean, honestly, when I heard this news, I wasn't shocked because this is par for the course for Microsoft. This is them having a policy that they've basically been very stalwart on enforcing and then backpedaling anyway. It's what they did with the Kinect. It's what they did with their DRM bullshit. It's what they've been doing for fucking years, and it has impacted their sales. This backpedal is actually one that's going in a positive direction, where they're trying to bring things forward. So I agree with Naughty. This could be the beginning of them winning the war. Will we know next year? No, but maybe 5-10 years down the line, we'll see how this decision change for Microsoft opened up the gateway for them to open themselves up to a larger install base, which they have on PC. Because I mean, let's face it, Gabe Newell, you're wrong. Linux is not the future of gaming. Microsoft can make Windows the future of gaming if they want to. They just haven't exercised that right until now.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more there. And the problems that we're encountering, these early problems like VSync, that was a mistake. They'll fix that. The SLI, who gives a flying fuck about SLI or Crossfire anymore? DirectX 12 supports multi-GPU rendering that is driver independent. Doesn't care if it's a Radeon, doesn't care if it's an NVIDIA card. You can use multiple GPUs. So who gives two shits about SLI anymore?
Well, it's just an issue people brought up.
Like we've seen, the performance increases in Ashes of the Singularity, which is like the first real DirectX 12 game that's really pushing the cutting edge of what DirectX 12 can do. And we've seen the benchmarks from the multi-GPU rendering combining NVIDIA cards and Radeon cards of different varying levels, and the gain there is real. So the gain here that I'm trying to tell people is you've got a video card in your computer right now. Okay, so the next great video card comes out in April, May, June. You've got NVIDIA's Pascal and ATI's newest offerings. So you just drop that card in your computer, and now it'll play with your old card, and you're fucking running way more powerful than that new card could possibly ever run.
I mean, there's a reality that's a possibility, and then there's also the public perception, and
that's a reality.
That will have to reach public perception at one point or another.
Yeah,
That's what
making
makes
the
it
public
catchy.
aware that they can
Right.
do this.
Yes.
And more
most
so,
people will still say, no, I don't think you can do that.
and more so, like with the Intel's integrated graphics on all their processors these days, add that to the mix too.
Yeah, why
Now
not?
you got 3 GPUs, Red Ring.
All right, so Microsoft, that was good what they said there, and Sony says that, that they're interested in working with the developers to make sure that their cross-platform stuff can happen. I mean, and this doesn't even seem like a technological hurdle in any kind of way. Anyway, I mean, for the most part, these two consoles work on very similar architecture. They both seem to marry well with the PC.
It's not a disadvantage to any of the consoles that
No,
allow
absolutely
this.
not. It's definitely not a disadvantage to Microsoft.
It was just spiteful of Microsoft to disallow it beforehand, and finally they,
So good on Microsoft. But then they had a party at GDC with half-naked dancers. And that was
Microsoft
considered uncalled for at the time.
Why did they do this?
So yeah, they threw a little party at GDC where they had scantily clad schoolgirls, basically wearing bras and skirts up on stage. And I guess Phil Spencer wasn't actually at this party because he didn't know much about it until someone brought it up to him. And he issued an apology for this because Microsoft apparently had spent some time at GDC talking about the importance of women game development and had a panel or two about that. So this particular message that this party conveyed seemed to go against what they were preaching at the actual conference.
Why would a giant corporate company like this want to taint their image with this bullshit? I mean, I am fine with, games that do it, that have fan service in it. I like looking at boobies. But, this is completely unacceptable for a corporate party.
So here's my take on this, all right? So this is probably like a PR guy at Microsoft who just gave no fucks whatsoever and was probably getting ready to leave the company anyway, and was like, you know what? If I'm gonna fucking leave, I'm going out with a party with strippers and whores, dude. Basically, that was his take on it. But yeah, this is fucking ridiculous in this day and age. When we've seen the huge, tremendous backlash against, the booth babes at E3 and GDC and the huge gaming conventions, and how they've all toned it down and brought things to a more toned down level where we're focusing more on the games instead of trying to sell, via sex through advertising.
Sex
basically.
appeal, yeah.
The sex appeal. I mean, looking at the pictures of this, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, the pictures that they posted on Kotaku were magical.
So like, if you got like Bender Rodriguez from Futurama to fucking organize this event, it could not have gone off any better.
I like your theory about the PR guy going out. I also like the theory that perhaps someone from Sony infiltrated Microsoft's PR department and did this on purpose.
That's some good conspiracy.
Just to joke around with them.
No, I think this is a PR guy who's like, I'm going out, I'm going to go out, and I'm going to have a party.
And party they did. Phil Spencer is very sorry for having offended women and men with sensibilities in the gaming industry due to this party. You can go read his letter somewhere on the internet. Okay, so some big news that came out, although it's more like a rumor. There were some leaked images of the Nintendo NX controller, and an author I very much like, Laura Kate Dale, from Destructoid, actually posted the pictures of this. Did you guys see this? These look rather interesting.
I did. I think I posted that one, actually. So we had some discussion briefly about this, where some are saying it might be fake and photoshopped. But looking at it, it looked way more to me like a concept / like engineering sample, where it's this kind of curved tablet with two thumbsticks on really, really spaced widely apart,
Very
and
spaced.
like one or two visible buttons on the unit at all. But the entire back face of this thing was apparently some type of display.
Yeah, this is really interesting because it almost looks like a full screen Vita type thing or handheld in your hand, with some bumper triggers and those two little joysticks on left and right.
If this is true, this signals the end of Nintendo, as we know.
Oh, you think so? Okay, tell me why.
There are pretty much no big giant buttons on the controller to play games with. You're going to be playing with touchscreens, which means you're going to be playing more mobile-oriented games because that's the route Nintendo seems to want to go nowadays. So if this is true, this is it. I mean,
well, I'm going to
Nintendo
counter
is
that.
now a fucking casual mobile company.
Maybe this is Nintendo's phone. I mean, who knows?
thinking about the first party games that Nintendo makes, the Metroids, the Zeldas, the Smash Brothers, and so forth, I think this controller would work perfectly fine for most of those applications. Now, for
No
a lot of
way.
the stuff,
How do you
a lot
play
of the
Smash
stuff,
on that?
they'll find a way. But for a lot of the stuff you play, like stuff like button mashing, fighting games, then yeah, totally, this is not an acceptable solution. However, a lot of people.
How do you play Zelda on that?
They'll find a way.
How do you play Mario on that? I have no clue. It's
Mario,
awful. It's an awful
Mario's
control.
all about just jumping and hitting like 2 buttons.
I mean, again,
No.
this is a leaked image. You got to.
There's
take
like
it with
no
a grain of
buttons
salt.
on it. We can't. The buttons that they have on it aren't like playable buttons. They're like starting.
So there's probably there's a lot on this we can't see. There's probably some trigger buttons, and you can kind of vaguely make out.
There's a B button.
Actual buttons around the D-pad on the left side. So it's a weird concept, and like I said, I don't think we should treat it as anything more. It's a concept / engineering sample, and look back. The analogy I gave is look back to the original iPhone. Everybody looked at the original iPhones and there's no buttons on there. How are you going to dial people? Nobody wants to dial by hitting buttons on a screen. They want physical buttons. And how fucking wrong we were.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's still people who like physical buttons, but
they're broken.
People have adopted the touchscreen stuff, and Nintendo's trying to be trendy and new, so touchscreen buttons is kind of a thing. I mean, this also suggests that this controller, again, is like the Wii U in that it has a second screened experience tied to it. I don't think that gamepad is going to be like a Vita type screen or like a 3DS. It looks more like a second screen experience to me. I can't imagine gaming on like this very like oval, obtuse looking screen like that. The resolutions won't be good. I mean, there's not even a lot of pixel space on there to really render anything nicely.
You have no idea what kind of resolution that thing's running.
I mean, we don't have any idea. But it doesn't look like enough visual space, really, in my opinion, to play a game on. At least not according to what Nintendo's trying to do and get third-party developers on board. How are you going to play an Assassin's Creed game on that? How are you going to play a Call of Duty on that? How do you do
these
that?
rumors just seem like it's just Nintendo wants to move towards mobile, and what? Fuck them.
Who even knows?
Yeah,
I'm not going to buy any of your fucking products, Nintendo.
Like I said,
hell.
I don't think this is a final controller. I think this is an early concept / engineering sample. This is something that they just threw up in concept, like, hey, this is what we can do. So let's knowing what we can do, let's make it functional.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, we're going to see something about the NX at E3, and if not, Tokyo Game Show this year. So we will know. I mean, it's coming out the end of this year, right? I mean, we have to be pretty close to a production model.
We're pretty sure it is.
We're pretty sure, anyway. Yeah.
Papa and I got some money riding on that, so we'll see.
All right, let's talk about some devs. So the development of Rime, which is from the developer Tequila Works, has acquired the rights for this game from Sony. AI, is this your game? Did you want to talk about this one? I didn't really.
Sure, I'll talk about it. I mean, this game we saw back at E3, and I don't think we've seen much of it after that. So, I mean, this has been in development hell. It's clearly at this point vaporware since Sony pretty much dropped it. That was a good indication that Sony dropped it, that they acquired the rights from Sony. So, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, this game looked good, but apparently what I'm hearing is that wasn't even in-game footage they were showing. It was just cutscenes.
Well, see, that'll fuck you.
So they don't even have a game to show. It's been in development for 3 years now. Yeah,
So that's probably kaput.
Probably.
Speaking of kaput, so Fable Legends has been canceled. Not a big surprise there. But the sadder news coming out of this is that Lionhead Studios in the UK is closing down probably. I haven't seen any follow up to the story, but they've let off a couple people. When this came out the day after our last podcast.
Yep.
They're going to be moving around some of the staff currently in Lionhead, so it seems like Lionhead Studios probably going to go the way of the dodo.
I was kind of sad about this. A lot of people were very skeptical or tenuous about the actual Fable Legends project, and it was a project that seemed mired in its own concept. Like they wanted it to be this first person, third person rather adventure game, but they wanted it to be like a co-op experience with like 4 other people, and they wanted to have like a dungeon master basically who would challenge these 4 people, and then it all of a sudden started to evolve into this weird kind of MOBA hybrid.
See, what they did was they had all these ideas and concepts that they promised the player in a very Peter Molyneux-esque style, and then they failed to deliver them and essentially closed down the studio.
Yeah, that's about right. Except instead of releasing the game under finished and under promised, they just closed it down.
If only they had Peter Molyneux.
If only they had Peter Molyneux leading the charge on this one. Well,
fortunately, he wasn't there. So
no longer see Lionhead Studio. Who knows what will come of the Fable franchise after this?
So, maybe Peter Molyneux can buy it.
Maybe he'll buy it back and he'll do another one. Who knows? I mean, he seems pretty busy with Goddess Wars or whatever garbage he's putting on Steam now.
Oh dear.
So Firewatch has sold 500,000 copies, and
good for them.
Developer Panic has recouped their investment in just one day.
Panic is the publisher. Campo Santos is the developer.
Campo Santos, okay. So they made all their money back. So this game was pretty successful. Huh?
Made all their money back in a day.
This was the game that you didn't like so much, right, Nani? You said it was kind of...
No. I enjoyed it, but like I said, it was shorter than we were told it would be, and it kind of had a lackluster ending.
It was compelling, right?
It was definitely compelling. It was an absolutely beautiful game. Like, I've never seen somebody take Unity and do something like that. And they created this entire like experience, like that you're out there alone in this Montana like wilderness, or was it Wyoming? Might have been Wyoming. Regardless, you're out there in the wilderness, and you at times you're walking through, and you've got just such beautiful landscape design and these sprawling vistas that you really truly feel like you're out in the wilderness. And all the while, they're kind of piling on this story on top of you, where you're starting in your head to develop these conspiracy theories, and then the game starts to go downhill.
Well,
but
I didn't say it was good. They just say they made their money back.
It did all right. It's I think its Metascore is probably appropriate. It's on the PC. It's like hovering in the low 80s. On the PS4, where it had some launch performance issues, it got knocked down for. It's in like low or mid 70s. So.
Fairly middle.
But they did all right. They did all right. Some really talented people worked long and hard on this. I'm glad they at least got their money back and made some profit, and they're going to move on to make something else.
So Twitch is now developing games specifically with streaming in mind. Now, I feel like this has been a long time coming, because there are games that just work really well on streaming and others that just don't. And Twitch is finally going to get into the scene here and start putting out stuff that is essentially stream bait.
Yeah, there was a few games that came out that did have that you could play like with Twitch chat, and the Twitch chat would change the dynamic of the game. Some people said.
I mean, this is kind of like, I've never been one to sit there and really watch someone play a game for the experience of playing the game. If I want to watch someone stream, it'll usually be a friend, someone I know. And I'm watching just to see how they do in the game. I'm not really watching it for content or to be like, to replace the experience of me playing the game, which I feel like a lot of people do. Maybe I'm too old. I'm certainly not interested in Twitch plays Pokemon. I don't understand why people would do that. I feel like there's much better things you could do with your time.
No, if I watch a stream, it's probably I'm watching a stream of somebody playing a game that I'm presently playing, and they're trying something completely fucking crazy and off the wall,
Yeah, no, I could get behind that.
And or that, and I'm really interested in kind of seeing what kind of experience they're generating under like a certain play style that they're going for. But yeah, I'm not gonna go watch somebody play a game I'm playing. Well, for reviews, it's a good thing. If you want to actually see how a game plays, that's you definitely go load up a stream, and I highly recommend it before pre-purchasing.
Generally, I only watch streams to watch professional play.
There's so many.
Everybody gets some.
Yeah, so many different reasons to watch streams.
So, do we need games with streaming?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe there's enough people that think that we do. Yeah,
I think so, and I think a lot of these games are just going to be how frustrating can you make it for the other person?
Exactly. Speaking of frustrating,
have you ever played that one game with the mice? and you have one person gets to be like the level. They get to like assist. They're like like a GM kind of, and you have to get the mice over to one point. So there's like 60
like
people
Lemmings.
playing at once. Yeah, there's like 60 people playing at once, and then one person controlling all of it. And they almost always will make it just impossible for everybody to complete the level.
Well, maybe that's the kind of game they're looking for. I
Could
don't
be.
know.
Yeah, this could be a very, very trolly game.
All right, so EverQuest Next has been canceled.
Good riddance.
Surprise, surprise.
No, I'm disappointed.
So Daybreak has really been batting 1,000 over there, huh, guys?
What the
Far
fuck
from
is
it.
that company doing?
No one knows what that company's doing.
Well,
Sony was good to get rid of them at the time that they did because Daybreak has done nothing but go downhill since they went solo.
Daybreak is going to continue to maintain EQ and EQ2 and PlanetSide 2 until they get bought out.
They clearly threw a lot of money in EverQuest Next too. I mean, they've redeveloped this game like three different times.
Well, it begged the question.
They just didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I can't begin to speculate what went wrong. I have a good idea, but I would love to see like a documentary of like what the fuck really happened. Like how did your scope and your vision creep so far that you couldn't make an EverQuest game?
Well, they had a lot of really good concepts too that they were going to go with, and I was kind of looking forward to the game, but nothing came out for years, and yeah, it was pretty much considered vaporware, and now it's confirmed, vaporware.
It's done. So how does this affect like the actual what was the other one? The one they were kickstarting and like actually had early access on? The EverQuest, like the Minecraft.
Oh, Landmark. Landmark's still around. Yeah, they still intend to milk that shit.
No.
Yeah.
That's all Daybreak seems to be doing now. Is just they're going to go ahead and take all their games that they have and just milk the shit out of them.
Well, you know what? PlanetSide 2 was a freaking great game. That was, of course, developed under Sony, but it was by the same people who made Daybreak, and it's still out there. It's still successful, and I would love to get you guys in there on like a Friday. Let's play some games night.
My problem with EverQuest Next is Lucy played this game, he used to podcast on here, and when he would play the game, he would stream it, he would talk about Landmark, he would say some really good things. My question was always, who the fuck is this game for? Is it for the people who want to play Minecraft in this like sort of cutesy EverQuest 2 art style, or is it for people who want to get into like this old school MMO, or do they want to play a WoW clone? Like, because every time they showed that game, it was different than I'd seen it the time before.
I can answer that for you. So do you know, like every time you find like a good MMO, right? And it's a really solid MMO, has phenomenal game mechanics, good level progression, end game mechanics potential. And then there's always that cluster of those motherfuckers on the forums who are like, when are we going to get player housing? That's who that game was for.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
But Landmark isn't EverQuest Next. They're
it's not
separate. So.
But I mean, they talked about, we're gonna use assets from Landmark and see what things people do with our engine and cool. And when they did their big EQ show off not too long ago, was it SOE Live? Was it like last year, the year before? It must have been 2 years ago. They were all up on like, you're gonna be able to plunder through this world. It looked more like Minecraft than an MMO. Like,
yeah,
it was like, I don't know who this game is for. Who are you appealing to? It's
basically Minecraft. I think most of the people EverQuest Landmark appealed to bought it solely for the reason that they would get access to EverQuest Next, and now that it's done, they're pretty pissed off.
Yeah, what do they get for the investment now? I mean, they get the experience of playing Landmark, I guess. But anyway, EQN, canned. See you later. Another game going the way of the dodo.
We never missed you.
WildStar developer Carbine Studios has just laid off a bunch of people. I can't see this game lasting much longer than the next year at the rate that it is bleeding and just not doing very well overall. I mean, this game came out in 2014.
You bastards tried to get me to play this game.
Not me. Don't look at me. Blame someone else. Blame people who are no longer here. But this game just launched with this idea that it was gonna pursue this hardcore endgame content with the 2-man and 40-man raids, and people got it in their hand and were like, oh shit, as much as I like 40-man raids, I'm old and have children or a job, and I don't have time to do 40-man raids. So this game fell flat on its face as a great testament to how fan service is a bad thing and how people really don't fucking know what they want in games. And here it is. I mean, they had big plans to release it over in China, where they might have found a bunch of tweens to play this game forever. But it's not even coming to China anymore. And it's going to be a real small studio group maintaining this now. And it's just kind of dead.
They had a chart of how much money NCSoft MMOs made, and this actually had a 0 on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was like it's supposed to be in like millions of whatever the Korean currency is. And yeah, this had a 0 on it when even the crappiest, like old school Lineage 2, Lineage, even those were making, tens of millions of whatever their currency is. So that's just wow. And it's free to play, so it should, be attracting people, but even people who can play free to play games don't want to play this, so
they just don't want to play it.
There's much better free-to-play offerings out there.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to announcements and debuts. Unless you guys really want to talk about the Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not really.
So, lots of VR stuff at GDC, like we've mentioned before. Let's start off talking about some of the Oculus and Vive stuff. One of the things we saw were the two user interfaces that the Valve, HTC Vive, and the Oculus are going to be using. Did you guys take a look at both of these? And was there one that stood out to you a little more than the other?
So I've been using like the Valve VR big picture mode on the DK2 for a while now, and it's a very good interface.
Okay.
And that's my thoughts. I have not used obviously the new Oculus one because it has not been available to us.
It's called Oculus Home. And it looks a little bit like, it looks kind of like Steam. I mean, I guess it looks more like Origin, actually, really, with kind of tiles for the games you can launch, the games you can buy, that kind of stuff. It's a pretty simple layout. I don't know. It's got a little user profile thing in the top right corner. I mean,
yeah. The idea is
nothing that crazy.
You could launch the games through the Oculus instead of having to do it for your PC.
Which is a good idea. So we saw the two user interfaces for that. Then Oculus talked about its launch lineup here, which what is it? You said 31 games on here. That's quite a lot of games. So let's talk about some of these games. Which one stood out to you guys?
Well, I mean, E-Valkyrie is their day one title. Now, we were watching E-Valkyrie for a while. This is from CCCP or whatever, the guys who make Eve, and they decided they were going to make a space shooter, and it looked really interesting. And then we found out it's actually just going to be like a little 4-player multiplayer arena space shooter. And then it lost a lot of appeal.
I don't know. I think it's still pretty interesting, and it's also on PlayStation VR too at launch.
It's a very good-looking game. It utilizes the technology very well. It's like I've been trying to tell people for a long time. The first, great games you're going to see are going to be games where the player is static in a cockpit, and that cockpit needs to be easy to understand for new players. And E-Valkyrie definitely fits that bill. Like I said, it's a fairly simple arena shooter. There's not a whole lot to it.
Yeah. And it's the first game on their video, too. Because
if Oculus had been like, DCS2 A10C is going to be our launch game, I'd have been like, oh, you guys are fucked. But E-Valkyrie is definitely the way to go.
And there's a lot of games that they showed in here that are kind of out already. Project Cars, Vanishing Ethan Carter. There was a lot of games here, too, that didn't look like they were specifically VR games. They showed a game... the hell is it called? Edge of Nowhere or Beyond Nowhere. It's just kind of like a third-person over-the-shoulder action game. Edge of Nowhere. So there's kind of a mix of stuff here, in terms of saying like, oh, these are the 31 games that are going to launch for our platform when they're kind of just launching for the PC platform and they're going to have Oculus support.
Well, Edge of Nowhere is Rift only.
Yeah, it's Rift only, but you don't need VR to play that game, is what I mean.
Yes, you do.
It doesn't look like you need VR to play that game. It's a third-person adventure game.
It requires VR to play.
Yeah, well, that's dumb. This is what I'm saying. It is dumb.
I think it does, at least.
It was a cool game.
So was Lucky Tales, which is also bundled with the Rift as well.
Yeah,
they look good. There's Adrift I like. Obviously, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Dragonfront, which is the card game we talked about before. that kind of looked like Hearthstone, but obviously you play it in VR. That looks really good. I like the Climb.
The Climb looked really awesome. I like that one a lot. I can see how that
you're
would
literally
be very
just climbing
immersive.
a mountain. It's not something that would be fun.
Yeah, that's from Crytek.
VR.
Yeah, that's from Crytek. They've been showing that off for quite a while right now.
It looks really good.
It was kind of a bummer to learn it was coming to the the Rift first, but that's just how they want to play the game. So yeah, and God knows Crytek is having their own issues right now. So any money they can get for an exclusive, they'll take.
So there was a couple that we had put on here too. Raw Data, which is an FPS. This one looked just awful in my opinion.
Yeah, it looked fucking terrible.
It looked really bad.
I didn't think it looked bad. I think it looked like fun. I don't know.
Then we must agree to disagree.
I didn't. I don't know.
Oh,
Graphics look bad.
Right, Lil Wayne?
The gameplay looked terrible.
It's completely
go look up like Vox Machina, and then you'll fucking see what a good VR game can look like.
I mean, it's got like System Shock Remaster 2 graphics in it.
There's some really good VR games we'll talk about later.
Yes, there are.
Let's see.
But Fantastic Contraption looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a Vive exclusive because of the control scheme.
I'm just trying to figure out what that game is about because watching him play that trailer, what is this game about?
So,
what do you do in Fantastic Contraption?
Basically, in Fantastic Contraption, you have a puzzle you have to complete, and you have to build a machine to complete that puzzle. And you complete that by walking around your room and picking up parts and building this machine, this infernal contraption that can complete this puzzle.
This actually used to be a Flash game back in the day. I believe it was 2D though, so obviously it's a step up when you're talking about virtual reality. But you would make a contraption, and then the goal would be to try to get your contraption across into a certain area. So you would have to go over different obstacles. You would have to make a contraption that could somehow scale different obstacles,
climb walls, and
by just going straight,
go under tunnels and all sorts of crazy shit.
Oh, that sounds like it could be fun.
You should watch it. Watch actual people playing it in the Vive. It looks really amazing because you're walking around inside this room and you're picking up parts and you're building this machine like the machine is in front of you, and you're using your hands to actually put the parts on the machine.
Okay.
And it's mixed reality, so it'll actually be pretty fun to stream because people can watch you as you're doing it, and it actually shows very well in VR.
It's such a weird description, mixed reality. And this is in psychology that has a completely different meaning.
Right.
Funny.
Yeah,
mixed reality gaming. It's just
with the VR stuff coming out, you're going to see a lot of weird game genres forming.
Yeah, I believe it. A couple of the ones we have on the list here. This says it's a VR game, but I don't think you need a headset to play this one, right? Portal Stories is a free Portal spin-off for the Vive.
Yeah, I guess I should distinguish which ones you need a VR for and which ones you don't. But
yeah, well, we'll be here for.
I don't know if that requires VR or not. But yeah, there's a lot of these narratives. So I guess Telltale might even get in on the VR stuff.
I don't see
because it's a good way to do narrative experiences. You're definitely more immersed.
Talked about a whole bunch of these. Bullet Train, a VR shooter from Epic Games. We got some extra details on that one.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a rail shooter.
Probably is a rail shooter. So
I mean, most of them are.
You've seen this one before, where you just kind of see your hands with the guns.
Yep.
On the screen, and you shoot.
Mm-hmm.
How fun!
I feel we're going to see a lot of games like that.
Yeah, we are. It's going to get worse.
Showed off a whole bunch. The PlayStation VR showed off a whole bunch, so let's start talking about the Playroom. This is PS4's VR Hangout idea, where they're talking, the VR thing can be a family experience. What do you guys think about that concept?
This is another, you have the PS Worlds or whatever it's called, VR Worlds or something, and then you have this, and it's another big bundle of games.
So it had a lot of cutesy looking family style games.
Yeah, the idea is that most of the games are more social, so you actually play with one person with the VR headset and the other people play against that person with the VR headset.
You can spread that dandruff and lice around. How we roll. This one was a really interesting concept. I believe it was Ubisoft. Werewolves Within.
This
It's
is
a board game style betrayal game where you try to guess who the werewolves are in your group.
this is a game that sold me on VR right there.
This is cool. If you guys haven't seen the trailer for this one, to the listeners, watch this one because they put a lot of time into developing this one. The idea is you and a bunch of friends with your VR headsets are sitting around this campfire and you're talking about stuff. And the game will actually pick up on your real life emotions, like crossing your arms and bending over and stuff like that, based on the tracking of the handsets and whatever. And you have to find out who the werewolves are that are sitting around the campfire.
Have you ever played a betrayal style board game? Or if you played something like Salem, I believe, or...
Well, this is based off of a board game. I think it's based off of Werewolf, the Beast Among Us.
Yep, it's based off a board game. So if you ever played any of those style board games, you'll get an idea of how it plays out.
No, this is an interesting concept because for a long time, we played tabletop here. We used to play it a lot more regularly than we do now, but we'd always wondered, how can we bring these betrayal-style games to life? Because you're all looking at the same board and you all see the same tokens, and you can just infer logically, like, this person has this many tokens in his hand and this person's got this many, so this person's the betrayer. But if you're all sitting around like a campfire and you've all got your stuff private to you, that makes for a completely different experience.
Indeed. I mean, I like the way this game was shown off, like the ability to whisper to people that are sitting around the campfire and stuff like that, opening up like a private chat between you and that person. I thought this game, it definitely is one of those things that you can look at and sell yourself.
A great reimagining of the board game.
So watch that one from Ubisoft.
Day one.
Talked about VR Worlds, which is going to have 5 games.
Do you want to talk about each game?
A lot of games.
VR Luge, Danger Ball, Into the Deep, London Heist, and Scavenger's Odyssey.
Okay. VR
Luge stood out to me was the VR Luge one.
Yeah, VR Luge is pretty much you're on a luge, and you're racing down the dangerous street. So
like a crazy street luger.
Yeah,
I always wondered about the luge, man. The luge is like one of the weirdest fucking experiences.
That has to be the dumbest fucking idea ever.
Like, I'm pretty sure I could go down to the parking lot and just like duct tape somebody's hands behind their back, like slap a helmet on them, and like, guess what? You're going on the fucking luge, dude. And that guy's gonna be flying down the luge, going like, I'm gonna get a medal.
This game looks like it'll be scary. This is a terrifying experience. I mean, every time you're about to crash, your subconscious is going to be like bracing yourself for.
You're going to throw the headset off your head and break it, because I'm sure this game is going to be pretty damn immersive.
Danger Ball and Into the Deep. I don't really have much to say about those because they just showed off a little bit.
Well, Into the Deep is a cute concept. It's almost like a proof of concept for showing off houses to people. The idea is you go into like a shark cage and you look around on the ocean and stuff like that. Get to see wildlife, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some gameplay on that besides just viewing.
They don't show much of it.
But London Heist is another one of those kind of, you have, it's another FPS, so you have the guns and.
Look, it's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, the video game, I think is what they're going for here.
Yeah, they're going for a more narrative experience with it. So it does look a little bit better than maybe Bullet Train or Raw Data if you're not into those. Scavenger's Odyssey, that's kind of like another flight sim, space sim type game. Where you're just shooting things in space.
I throw that one in the pile of those games because there's a lot of those games. All right, Battle Zone is a tank battling game for the PlayStation.
Oh my!
Yeah, if you play the original Battle Zone, this is it, and this game looks amazing. I mean,
no, it goes so beyond that.
In what ways, Core?
Okay, so the original Battle Zone came out in like 1980, and it was a vector-based Atari game in the arcades, and so that was Battle Zone. That was the original. Like, you kind of look around your tank and you do your thing. And
the original first-person shooter.
So, yeah, it was one of the original first-person shooters. One sec, I got a video playing here. All right, so in 1998, and this is back during the advent of the actual 3D accelerator cards, Activision came out with a new Battle Zone. And that new Battle Zone was basically you were a commander launched up to the moon either a Russian commander or a United States commander, and the whole goal was to like mine helium-3. And so you ended up in this hybrid first-person shooter real-time strategy game on the moon, like fighting against this other faction. Like you would build bases in your tank, and you would build other tanks, and you would go out and actually fight them like Command and Conquer style, but in first person. And it is one of the most underrated games ever made. Like underrated, under-adopted. It is a phenomenal game. And the fact that they're actually trying to recreate that game here now in VR is so amazing to me. I absolutely just get giddy at this one. Cannot wait for this game.
It's weird. As you're talking
It's on
about this
PlayStation
game,
VR now.
as you're talking about this game, I'm imagining us sitting around a
It's gonna
campfire
come.
and you're telling us the stories of your people.
Right.
But-
so
but
here are the
this
stories
game
of my
is-
people back in the days. But no, seriously, this was
In the
one
days
the
of vector
first games.
graphics.
It did. Like think about the early 3D accelerators we had. We had like Real 3D, then we had the Voodoo chipsets, and the Voodoo chipsets had spin-offs. Like you had the
Oh, I
Voodoo
remember those.
or the Voodoo chipset, and there was a company called Canopus. Canopus actually was my first 3D accelerator, the Canopus Pure 3D, and it was a Voodoo-based chipset with 4 fucking megabytes of VRAM.
You'll never
So
need
this
more.
This thing could load textures that nobody else could even dream of. And they actually built a high texture set for Battlezone for the Canopus Pure 3D. It was an amazing game. It looked absolutely great at the time.
And we were talking about these on-rail first-person shooters. This is not on rails. You are moving around.
No, you are
Very
freeform. You are freeform,
Yeah.
building bases, recruiting, building units, and taking them out with you, like in first-person style in your tank, like Command and Conquer style.
This
one's
is a
big
lot of
deal.
people's favorite VR
Yeah.
game. And
Yeah, you go look up.
GDC.
Go look up reviews of Activision's Battlezone, and you will just be floored. It is one of the most underrated games of all time.
Alrighty then. You heard it here. Look forward to Battlezone on PSVR.
Battlezone's going to be awesome.
Seems like the most excitable game yet.
I'm jealous. I hope it makes it over to PC.
Here's one not to get too excited about. Tumble VR. It is basically Jenga. There are some game elements to it, like things going around the screen that you have to avoid and build the tower of shit around. But it's not all that crazy. There was another one called Gary the Gull, which was basically just sort of a teaser trailer where there was a talking seagull named Gary. Don't know much more about that. There wasn't anything else in this game.
No, they didn't say anything else. I don't
Okay.
believe.
This is the one you mentioned before about having some problems with the Move controllers. Gollum is the name of the game.
The rest of the game was great, but there's some sword melee in it where you're both playing giant golems and you got to defend against the sword attacks and then retaliate by counterattacking, and it just people were complaining about the move controls on it, so it probably needs work.
Okay, well, I'm sure we'll see more about it at E3. Maybe they'll have worked out some of the kinks. So this one's interesting. I believe, if my memory serves me right, this one is from Harmonix. It's called Thumper. It's a rhythm hell game. You're essentially on like a 3-rail track, and you're going very fast trying to move this guy between the 3 tracks to hit the notes, right?
Yeah.
That seems appropriate.
Something
It
like
looks like it will be pretty intense in VR, just because of the closed-in perspective and all the flashy lights. I will just say now, epilepsy warning up the ass on
Yeah,
this
Cedar
one.
warning.
Seriously, there are a lot of neon flashy lights in this game, but it looks like a shitload of fun if you're into just fast-paced rhythm hell type stuff. I mean, it's really the genre it is, right?
And there's a few I didn't put on here worth mentioning, like Res Infinite. People were actually talking a lot about that as well. I couldn't find a really good show on that.
Does the Res Infinite come with the infamous vibrator pack?
I don't know.
He's not
Curious minds want to know.
All right.
I was upset we didn't see any. Speaking of vibrator packs, Summer Lesson. It would have been nice to see more Summer Lesson.
Maybe.
All right, so we've got a lot of other games that were announced at GDC that were not VR games. So I'll run down this list here, and if there's any that stand out to you guys, feel free to chime in. Atelier Sophie, The Alchemist of the Mysterious Book. This has to be some kind of Japanese game.
It sounds like
Yep, because it's getting a Western release.
Vita and PS4, and it looks really good. It's JRPG.
They showed off some gameplay.
I like the Artillery games, and this one looks even better. They always improve on them, so.
Oh, yes. It's Peggy 12, so you won't see any boobies in this one. At least not
No,
big
it's
boobies.
very light on fan service, this games. Has a little bit, but.
They showed off some gameplay stuff for Gears of War 4. What exactly did they show off? Because, I mean...
They didn't show off gameplay. They just detailed gameplay changes in the game.
I see, okay.
There's got to be cover, and you're going to shoot.
Be cover.
Well,
there's going to be different shaped cover.
Yes, different cover.
And there's going to be a gun with a chainsaw on it. You're going to use it frequently.
It's ridiculous.
Beacon.
I
kind of don't see the appeal of those games, but...
They were all right. Successful. They were all right.
I like the first one, even though it was like a remake of like it was basically like Pitch Black, the video game.
I just mean cover shooters in general. They're just I'd rather just play a real FPS.
I might as well just call it rename it a Riddick game, basically.
Beacon, a twin stick shooter.
I like twin stick shooters, and I don't think there's enough good ones out there.
Well, maybe this one will be a good one. You guys check this video out?
I did.
I did, yeah.
All right, it looked all right.
A little more tactical than shooter, but okay.
To Azimuth, narrative with style, an adventure game.
Does not look good.
No.
Psycho Pass, Mandatory Happiness is releasing on PS4 and
it's a visual novel.
Visual novel, hooray! And did you have to put all these on here? The Long Journey Home, procedurally generated space exploration game, coming to all major platforms.
Because we need another No Man's Sky.
I like space.
Sure. Skylar and Pluck's Adventure of Clover Island, a 3D platformer / action adventure game.
This game looks like they just threw Ratchet and Clank and Sly Cooper together.
Exactly what I was going to say. Hellblade got another trailer. This is a cool game, actually. I don't know why.
I don't even know what to think of this game.
Cool.
It's just weird right now.
It is weird, but it looks
I know they're
cool.
going for the whole psychological insanity thing.
Yeah. Very, very interested to see how this one performs. Trackmania Turbo as an open beta. Tyranny.
So Trackmania is one of those games. Like I think we should get people playing on the Friday night game night.
Yeah, I agree.
They're racing games for people who don't like the hardcore racing games like GTA or not GTA but Gran Turismo or Assetto Corsa or Project Cars. Like this is more like arcade racing and on racetracks that like go back to the old school like stunts series and whatnot. Yeah. They're just really fun tracks to play, and you don't have to have a whole lot of racing skill.
Yeah, they're party games or lane games.
Yeah, they're party games.
Yeah, they're pretty popular. I know all about that one. I would be down. If I get a Friday free, I'd be down.
All right, we'll work on it. But it doesn't have to be Friday.
That's true. It could be Saturday afternoon.
Could be.
Here's one that a lot of people have been talking about. Tyranny. This is the new project from Obsidian and Paradox.
Yes, Obsidian, who gave us Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. And
they
Fallout.
Didn't show anything, though.
Most recently, these guys paired up for Pillars of Eternity.
Yes, they did.
Which was super popular.
Also responsible for Fallout New Vegas, which was the better of the Fallout games.
Completely agree.
They showed my favorite kind of trailer, one that shows zero gameplay. And
no, there was some gameplay, but it was in the very background.
It was in the background. It was like an isometric kind of looking game.
Yeah.
It looked almost like the Pillar style.
They had the logo superimposed over it. It had some weird blood red filter over it, but you could see it.
And it's not gameplay. Those are screenshots.
It was a gameplay.
Whatever. Definitely going to be looking forward to this one, though, because Obsidian always makes good shit, so... Everything except KOTOR 2.
That's the truth. If somebody said, hey, there's an Obsidian game coming out, it's going to be good or bad, I would bet on good.
Yep, absolutely. Murasaki Mist, an isometric hack and slash game.
Using the same visual style of the Dragon Age Origins intro. I like it.
Like gritty kind of...
Then the actual gameplay looks
like gritty, like stained glass, kind of animated. Yeah.
I don't know, the gameplay looks bad.
That actually look great.
It's supposed to be like Diablo, I guess, where you just go around hack and slash.
Makes sense.
Well, I used to be into those games. I like Dungeon Siege. A Dual Hand Disaster Tracker, a twin stick shooter. Another one.
Well, this is a different twin stick shooter.
Oh, it's a different twin stick shooter.
Yeah, because you're you're playing one type of game on one stick, and then you're playing another type of game on another stick.
Oh,
so
that's that one. Okay, yeah.
this looks insanely hard to play.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of does.
Like, I would get headaches.
So on the left screen, you're kind of playing like a standard left to right, top down sort of shooter thing. And then on the right side screen, you're kind of moving through a more 3D world where you go and try to avoid stuff or pick up power-ups, whatever. Seems like it will be a pain in the ass.
And both one's more like Space Invaders, one's more like Bullet Hell, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know how they, maybe they just decided that they couldn't decide on what kind of game they wanted to make in development, so they made both. That's why the fuck not.
I bet the Japanese are going to be all over that.
Yeah, this one looks like it'll probably do well on Twitch too. People will watch other people play that.
Rated mature.
Man, my sound keeps clicking on here. Too Dark is a top-down horror game. The fuck does that mean?
Means it's gonna be
It
weird.
means it's going to be terrible.
Okay. Fallout 4 released a trailer for the Automatron expansion, which was cool. If you guys played,
It's MechWarrior and Fallout.
yeah, if you guys played Fallout 3, this one's based on the Mechanist, who I'm not sure, is it the same character, Naughty? So you aware or sure of that or know that in any way?
Sounds like it.
But yeah, I would imagine that is there was like a mini storyline in Fallout 3 of the Mechanist versus who was it? The bug person? What the hell was their name?
Oh god, can't remember.
But you could choose which one lived and which one died. You could kill both of them or kill none of them.
So here we're presuming they live.
So here, I guess it's canon that the Mechanist survives, and he's building an army of automatrons that you must stop to save the waste, or the Commonwealth, as they say.
And you do this by building giant robots.
Absolutely. Why the fuck not? So presumably, it's going to be a pretty craft-heavy style of expansion. So cool.
You do not need to tell the MechWarrior fan that giant robots are a bad thing.
No, because they will never disagree with you.
Exactly.
Omen of Sorrow, fight like me sometimes. It always seems to crash during the podcast and never any other time. Anyway, so we were talking about, I was going to introduce Omen of Sorrow, which is a fighting game based on the horror mythos. So I saw the trailer for this game. I'm going to wait for you, AI, to talk about your opinion on it first, since you're the fighting game guy.
I'm not particularly impressed. I mean,
All right.
we already have a fighting game based on horror mythos. It's called Darkstalkers. So, yeah, and it's a really popular one another one that Capcom doesn't give a shit about on our IP.
It looks pretty. I'm just curious about if the mechanics are solid.
It looks alright. I mean, nothing too impressive to me so far.
The animations just seem so stiff. Like I couldn't get over how you could tell they didn't mocap a fucking thing. And fighting games have become nicer and nicer to look at over time because of their smoothness, and I feel this game is not moving in that same direction. So yeah. All right, I'm gonna attempt to pronounce this next one. Ikene to Yuki no Setsuna gets a Western announcement and a Steam release. Oh, and it's being changed to I Am Setsuna. Great. Why didn't I just say that then? Why do you do this to me?
I don't know why they went with that title.
That doesn't translate to that, I suppose.
Ikenie is sacrifice. Yuki is snow, so it's snow and sacrifice. Setsuna, I'm guessing, is a name. It means like moment or instant in Japanese, but I think that's just a name in this case.
Okay.
What do you do in this game? Because I'm looking at it, it looks like a top-down kind of JRPG. Does it have
It's Chrono Trigger.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, there you go.
Final Fantasy, old school Final Fantasy.
All right.
Turn-based RPG.
So we also saw Frozen Synapse 2.
Mm-hmm. Very popular game.
Yeah, this one sounded familiar, but the trailer didn't look like the other one, did it? Maybe I missed something.
No.
It's much larger scale than the other one.
Yeah, it's a very
maps are larger.
It's basically like tactical simulation, kind of XCOM style, but without all the flair and graphics of XCOM. Like I said, they really break it down to the tactical mode.
Yeah, but you play out turns in seconds instead of tile based.
Okay. Divide, a tactics RPG. This is for PS4 only. I saw this one too. feel like I had something to say about it, but I don't remember what that was.
I'm all for more tactics RPGs.
That's cool. It reminds you of like Syndicate, kind of. Hob the Duck Deer, a puzzle adventure for PS4. Comments?
No,
You
no.
actually play a duck deer.
You play a duck deer. So are you?
Well, that seems natural.
Well, this is that game that we saw nothing about last time it was announced. It was just them opening a door or whatever. Okay, yeah.
Oh, they showed off some gameplay on it.
They sure did.
And I still don't know what it's really.
Yeah. What is this
it's
game
just
about?
doing this game.
Okay, well, maybe we'll find out more later. Vampire, which is spelled Pyr, the action adventure. Vampire. Made by the Life is Strange guys. Don't nod. Got a gameplay trailer.
This is actually not a trailer. It's more like leak gameplay.
Yeah.
But the combat looks solid. It looks kind of like Bloodborne, Dark Souls. So I'm sure Gray's gonna be all over it.
I mean, and this is don't nod. They've got some pretty fucking strong pedigree coming off of a lot of Game of the Year nods and wins.
It's clearly pre-alpha, so there's.
Well, it says that straight on the screen.
Yeah, there's some jankiness to it, but for what they got, this looks really solid so far.
I'm liking this so far. This is something we're going to be watching.
Oh, I'm glad someone's excited. Double Fine game, Everything. It's called Everything. Their website is everything-game. Yeah, this game trailer showed you nothing. Showed you some glowing bullshit.
Like most Double Fine trailers.
Fuck knows what you do. So can't say one way or the other whether there's anything.
You do everything. What's wrong with you?
You do everything.
Did you miss the core concept here?
Yes. By a mile.
Reminds me of Nog. I still don't know what that game's about. It's another Double Fine game.
And the last game that was shown off, Pit People from the Castle Crashers guys. This is actually a hex turn-based game, which is kind of different from Castle Crashers, which is sort of a side-scroller, right?
But it has that behemoth humor in it.
That looks cool.
It's like random weirdness.
Alrighty.
Castle Crashers is a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so why don't you take us through the upcoming games from March 21st through April 3rd? Seems like there's a lot of cool things coming out.
All right, we got another Vita release. I think it was on PS4.
So you're telling me this game
PC.
is not Japanese?
No, there's no way this could be Japanese. This title.
No
Hyperdimension Neptunia U Action Unleashed is getting a PC release. It's an action RPG. It's coming out on PC March 21st. So you can get that on Steam.
Oh, I won't.
Alchemist Awakening is going into early access for PC, obviously. March 21st is a multiplayer open world survival building game. So kind of like Minecraft or Ark, I guess.
We need another one of those? All right.
Yeah, we need another one of those. Day Tentacle Remastered is a point-and-click adventure game, a very old one.
Yes,
it's getting remastered.
Day of the Tentacle is one of the classic LucasArts Scrum-based adventure games. It probably is listed in like every top 10 adventure games of all time, especially like the fully remastered like CD audio versions. It is a sequel to an earlier game called Maniac Mansion. Day of the Tentacle does actually include the full Maniac Mansion as a mini game, like within the game.
Maniac Mansion was a rough game.
Dude, it was. You could put the gerbil and hamster, but everybody remembers Maniac Mansion for that. You can put the gerbil and hamster, the gerbil and microwave, or hamster and microwave, whichever.
Yeah, that game was tough on NES.
Fucked up game.
It was clever though, because you could beat it with every different character like a different way, and
yeah, it's a lot to it. It's a great game. A lot of good dialogue. It's very well written. Some good puzzles. It's not one of those games where you have to have like the actual adventure guide to figure out the puzzles. The puzzles make sense to some extent.
To some extent.
It is Double Fine though, so there's a Double Fine warning.
Beware.
The last remaster was kind of Grim Fandango. It was kind of bad for remaster.
Yeah, we'll see.
But the gameplay is solid. as was Grim Fandango. So
I think that just has to do with the fact that Grim Fandango was such a fucking vague ass puzzle adventure game. Some of
But
the
it's not-
solutions
still
were so
enjoyable.
obscure, you know.
Yeah, it was almost like a Sierra adventure game.
but yeah, PS4, PS Vita, March 22nd. Republic is also going to remaster. We're going to see a lot of remasters.
VR and remaster all
Is it VR?
fucking year. I don't know.
I
I just mean the concepts themselves. That's all we're going to talk about.
But yeah, Republic is a stealth action game, and it's coming out on PS4, PC, all remastered, March 22nd. We talked about a little bit Fallout 4
Automatron.
Matron, whatever. Fallout expansion. It's coming out PS4, Xbox One, PC, March 22nd.
Getting your season pass worth of content.
So is that downloadable DLC or is it actual expansion?
I don't know. I'm waiting for the game of the year. This year.
It's part of the season pass, so it doesn't matter really what it's characterized as. But if you did not pick up the season pass before, I believe, March, you will pay the increased price. They increased it from like 25 or 30 to like 40 or 45. They pulled one of those things that Dying Light did, where they the scope of their work was larger than they thought, so they increased the price of the season pass.
Or just wait till October, November when the game of the year edition's out.
That's what you should do at this point. Yeah.
Yep.
With the game for $20 and all the DLC,
Yep.
you will probably not play it anyway.
Probably not.
Because the game itself is large enough. 100 Ways to Die is a physics-based puzzle game. It doesn't really look that good. It's coming out PS4, PC, Xbox One, March 22nd. Guessing nobody has anything to say about that one.
No,
So-
I really don't.
Moving on, Stranger at Sword City. This is also coming out on Vita later. I think.
See, I read this one kind of wrong, like Sword of the Stranger at first, and I was like all excited. And I was like, oh, wait a minute here.
Wait
Well, you
a
should be
second.
excited for this game because it was an older dungeon RPG. I believe it released on the Xbox 360 and other systems as well. It's been on Japan for a while on different systems.
Yeah, but it's
But
also an
it-
Xbox One exclusive.
It is not exclusive. It is coming out on Vita later
Yeah, but later.
and PC, I believe. It's coming out on Steam.
All
So,
right, fine.
But it is a dungeon RPG, so if you enjoy those types of games, where
If you haven't figured it out yet, the Xbox no longer has like the sales and the street cred to get its own exclusives. They're all just timed exclusives.
You're right. I should have made that observation.
Yeah, I mean, it has a few new additions. It has an anime art style, although why you would use an anime art style over their original art style, I have no idea. Because, yeah,
Well,
I
they
guess-
thought it'd be a good idea.
I don't think anyone really is going to use that feature. But yeah, it's a very solid game. Got very good reviews. The early reviews are out for the Xbox One version too, and it still has good reviews. So definitely a good pickup. I did recommend buying it if you have an Xbox One. Obviously, if you have Vita or PC, buy it later. I already have it pre-ordered for Vita, so there's some bias there. Also coming out is Slain. It's a Metroidvania style game with like a heavy metal Viking style theme to it. And it's coming out on PC March 24th. Apparently you die a lot in this game as well.
Maybe that's what the title's all about.
Yeah, Shantae's Risky Revenge is releasing on the only platform it probably hasn't released on yet, the Wii U. It's a pretty old game, released on different platforms at different times. It's a platformer where you play like a genie girl.
Sounds so exciting.
It's coming out. Well, it's actually a really good game. So yeah, Wii U finally gets a game.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yeah. So look forward to it if you have a Wii U, March 24th. I don't think Papa's going to pick this one up, though.
Probably.
And he calls himself a Nintendo fanboy.
He's not.
He doesn't get the free games that release
He's just
this
a
year.
poser. He doesn't even have more than like 30 amiibos. It's not a real fanboy.
He only has one amiibo. One amiibo.
See, that's not a fanboy. You have to be stupidly obsessed to get like fucking every goddamn amiibo.
You need 3 of each amiibos.
Minimum. My wife has like 10. You can fucking play her Wii U. It's got like a layer of dust on it.
So I think the big exciting news this next 2 weeks is the Oculus Rift is releasing. So we're seeing our first big
What's that?
VR release.
It's a thingy.
I don't know. I don't think we talked about this at all.
It looks like a pair of goggles,
Ever.
Paul. Plays them their video games.
Yeah, you put it on your head and things happen.
Things happen. And then you have a seizure.
But yes, it is releasing March 28th. It is for PC, in case you weren't sure. You will probably need to upgrade your graphics card if you haven't recently.
Remember to log in with your Facebook account.
That too. And it will watch you masturbate.
Man,
But
I don't want one anymore.
Only if it ends up on fucking X videos, dude, then I'm okay.
it is releasing with at least 3 games. Well, it's releasing with 31 games, but these are the
Not
new
included,
games.
by the way.
Yeah, these are the new games that are releasing for the Oculus Rift that you can only get on the Rift. Well, you can get a Drift as well on.
Yeah, Drift is supposed to be out with the Vive when it comes out.
And Dead Secret, actually. So, I mean,
You can get them on Tuesday.
Yes, they are releasing on
If you
Tuesday
get a
when
Rift.
the Rift releases.
Actually, wait, hold on.
If you were in the first batch of Rift shipments, and there are going to be several batches.
You have these marked as March 28th, which is actually a Monday. So VR games come out on Mondays.
I guess so.
Maybe there's a trend starting. Nintendo's on like Friday, VR's on Monday, everything else is on
Unless I made a
Tuesday.
mistake or something. No, I didn't.
Tuesdays
make a
and
mistake,
Thursdays are the big general release dates.
but Don't forget Nintendo with Friday and Sunday. for
Friday and
whatever
Sunday,
reason.
yeah. Because why? Because technically it would be Saturday
Because
and
it's
Monday
Japan.
and Monday for them. So weekend gameplay and all that shit. All right, so yeah, you've got these 3.
But, Eve Valkyrie, we talked about Space Sim Shooter. It's for the Oculus, PSVR. We'll get it later. It's coming out March 28th. Adrift. Do you want to talk about that, Craig? Since I think you picked it as one of your picks.
I picked it as one of my draft picks simply because I needed a token VR game that was getting hyped. This one wasn't as hyped as I would have liked it to have been, but it just looks like one of those survival space sort of things without shooty gun stuff. Like you got to find air tanks and float around in 0G, and I have a feeling like it will deliver an interesting experience in VR. I would love to play it, but I do not own a headset nor the money to purchase one right now. So maybe when it comes out in PlayStation VR, and maybe if I have the money to buy that at the time, which I probably will, maybe I'll pick it up in PlayStation, but I highly doubt it.
I'll probably pick it up for PSVR, depending on how many games I pick up, which looks like it's going to be a lot of games.
Yeah.
I will when I get my Vive here in the next couple of weeks. I'll let you know how it is.
But yes, it's coming out for the Oculus, and yes, it's coming out for PSVR and Vive later as well. So
All
all
platforms.
VR, yes. March 28th, all of gaming VR, we should say. Dead Secret, again, March 28th as well. It's a horror game. So this is another platform that should work really well on PlayStation VR. I know, or VR, I mean, not just PlayStation VR. I know that the horror games are the Paranormal Activity game, which is based on that movie, I believe. That was scaring the shit out of people. I know that. I don't know about this game. I'm sure it will scare the shit out of people. Because jump scares work really well in VR.
They work really well in the movies, so yeah, they should work really well in VR.
It's going to work even better in VR than the movies. But yes, it's coming out March 28th, so if you want some jump scary game, gameplay you want to be scared shitless. And hopefully stream it so people can watch you while like a little baby. Then, yeah, pick it up. Anyway, Chronicles of Teddy, a Metroidvania game. I never even heard of this game, and it looks alright.
Nor have I.
It doesn't look bad at all. It's coming out for PS4, Wii U, March 29th. Very weird choice of systems. I never really see just PS4 and Wii U.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Usually it's just it's either Wii U exclusive or it releases on pretty much every damn console. Knights of Azure, another game I pre-ordered. It was formerly called Euro no Naikuni. I wonder why they changed the name. I guess because
I can't imagine.
People would get confused with Ni no Kuni. But it is an action RPG where you could like transform into different I don't know, transformations. You transform into different transformations. That sounds.
You can shapeshift.
Yeah, she could shapeshift into different and perform different combos and all that other stuff. So it looks really neat. Definitely recommend picking up if you have a PS4. It is not releasing on Vita, even though it did release in Japan on Vita. So there's some bit of controversy there. Vita's dead.
That Vita controversy.
People are upset that they're not getting their Vita games. But anyway, MLB The Show 16 is baseball game. It's releasing for PS4 March 29th. I don't think we need to talk about that.
Nope.
Do we?
No, it's MLB The Show, the next one.
We're
That's
good.
all it is.
I mean, they get
Baseball, are you there?
They get good reviews, so I'm sure they're solid baseball games. The Walking Dead is getting its second episode for Michonne.
Michonne.
Whatever.
I got to catch up on this one too.
Why is it not Michonne?
Because you don't pronounce an E after two N's in English.
Well,
You hardly pronounce an E after one N in English.
I just did it in Japanese, so it looks like a Japanese word. So
Well, her name might be
We would
Japanese.
have an accent over the E if we wanted that to happen.
Right. Her name might be Japanese based. I don't know. I'm not a huge Walking Dead fan to the point where I read the comics or anything like that, but she's essentially a characteristic samurai. She's got like, a lot of honor. She uses a fucking
that's why
katana.
it should be Japanese. It should be Michonne.
She's a black chick. It's Michelle.
So she could be Blackanese.
She could. I'm not saying she can't. She certainly has a body shape for it.
Okay.
But it's an adventure game, Telltale. If you played The Walking Dead, obviously you're getting the same experience here. It's PC, PS4, Xbox One, March 29th. And last and maybe least, Trillion God of Destruction is releasing as an action RPG where you fight a boss over and over again as a trillion HP. And it's releasing for PS Vita March 29th. Because if you couldn't figure out that was a Vita title by the title.
You're like fighting the sleeper, basically?
You're fighting what?
The sleeper from EQ?
Yeah, I guess. But hey, people defeat the sleeper, so it's possible.
They did, eventually. And it bugged, but they got it.
Well, yeah, technically it wasn't actually defeated. The GMD spawned it, but...
People also clicked stuff all over the place for Pokemon Plays Twitch, and they opened up Peter Molyneux's cube. People will do a lot of things.
Actually, did we want to talk about Pantheon videos?
No, not even a little bit.
Okay, good.
Not yet.
No thanks. Hey, Naughties, why don't you take us to the video game draft since no one has heard your voice?
Oh, the
Very
video
much.
game drafts. So, alright, so we got some release dates changes. We got Final Fantasy 15 rumored to release on the 30th of September. This is the next single-player iteration of Final Fantasy, if I'm correct.
Indeed.
So, who had that as their pick? Was that Monster?
Probably Seifer
I think it was Safer or Monster.
or AI, yeah.
I know it wasn't Papa,
I don't think it was me.
so it had to have been Safer then.
Well, I'm going to look it up. I forgot
be
to put
my
it down
guess.
because I was kind of in a rush. spent a lot of time on this.
So then we also have Ashes of the Singularity, which is the DirectX 12 showcase game. This has been announced for a March 31st release. It's been in early access for some time. Spiritual successor to the Total Annihilation series. If you are not following this game and you are a huge fan of grand real-time strategy, this is the game to watch. It is a very fun game. It's kind of adopted more of like a hybrid, like MOBA style play, but I think it's better for it. And it works really well. Still focused on large unit combat, huge battles. If you've never played a Total Annihilation game before, you're probably used to playing like StarCraft or Warcraft where you have limited resources. We don't fucking play that game here. No, sir. we give you unlimited resources. So when you defeat your enemy, it's because you defeated him through, better producing, better industry management, and better unit management. And so these are fun games. The battles take a long time if you get two good players going at it. So good times.
Yeah, if you're into that sort of thing.
Yes, both games were Steeper specs.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Ashes is a very good game. I think it's going to do well.
And I think Final Fantasy 15 is going to do really well critically as well. That's a solid 90. Solid 90.
We'll see.
So that takes us straight into the upcoming releases. We have Ashes, of course, on the 31st. We have Adrift, which is the VR survival kind of gravity and space game. And then we also have, I think this is Monster's pick, Star Ocean 5, Integrity and Faithlessness. And
Terrible title.
And it's a Japanese title. What do you expect? It will release in Japan on the 31st. When's it going to release in the US?
We don't know yet, but we did get an English trailer, so it shouldn't be too long.
If I'm not mistaken, that was one of the criteria of this draft. They had to release in the US.
Yes, but I just put it on there because it's been a Japanese release, so we can go ahead and look at what the reviews are in Japan and get an idea of what it's going to be like in the US.
No, that's fine. So tentatively releasing in the US at some point.
6 months at least.
We have no new draft games that came out in the last 2 weeks that were scored, but we have some information.
I should have put the scores down, but oh well.
That's all right. So Ashes of the Singularity did something amazing. They are showing off their DirectX 12 prowess and their offloading of the GPU pipeline, where they are rendering battles of 25,000 units. That is 25 with 3 zeros following it on the field at any given time fighting.
Every single unit is affected by physics and has their own physics.
Yes, they are.
Just think of the sheer number of calculations that are going on for that.
Seafer and I have been playing this game. I don't know where you guys have been, dude. But, it's looking good. It's looking really good.
I'll pick it up when it releases, probably.
So we got Zero Escape. Zero Time Dilemma gets a trailer. It's an English trailer, too. Who picked this one?
I picked it.
How about you? All right. Doom 4 is showing off their multiplayer trailer.
I did forget to mention on there that Zero Escape is also getting a Steam release, which is, we already know is releasing for 3DS and Vita, but Steam has been confirmed, so you could go ahead and play that on PC, and I definitely recommend playing those games. They are great games. I think that's going to do really well critically. That's why I picked it.
Okay. We've also got Doom 4 showing off a multiplayer trailer, and this is an important one because a lot of the videos that we've seen about Doom 4 have been, like first person, but it was very, very apparent they were pre-rendered, and we'd all been kind of wondering about the actual pace of the game, the actual speed, because if you ever play Doom or Doom 2 or Doom 3, they're fast games, and we were kind of worried about how slow things looked, but this looks fast. This looks fast-paced, like high action, a lot of fun. So, Doom 4. If you're looking for a new, map-based multiplayer shooter, it could be a lot of fun.
Or even just a good single-player experience, since Doom is known for that as well.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that single-player experience. We'll see though.
We'll find out May 13th.
And then we've got a new trailer for a gameplay trailer for the Ratchet and Clank game, which this one's kind of weird because it's technically a remaster, but it's not. It's also a reboot. But
it's not a remaster.
It is actually.
Well, it looks very nice.
Remaster.
It looks very smooth. The gameplay looks smooth. The flight controls look smooth.
Oh yeah, it's got some.
That was your pick nowadays.
I know this. And I didn't realize at the time what they were doing. But they're not calling it a remaster. They're calling it a new game. So I'm going to run with it.
Well, already.
The environments look phenomenal. The gameplay looks smooth. Like, if you own a PS4 and you don't pick this game up, you're stupid.
And I also forgot to add it, but Dark Souls free release more trailers as well. They've been releasing trailers pretty much every week, so.
Yep, that's coming up the next 2 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, not this cycle.
No, next podcast cycle. But yeah, that was the number one draft pick of this year.
So when is the next cycle exactly? Well, today is Sunday, March 20th, and we're going to be back on Sunday, April 3rd for our 61st episode of the IGC Podcast. And we have 60 episodes in the books, guys, so we should be proud about this one. We should all tilt some back tonight. Celebrate a little bit.
Feeling good about that one.
Yeah. And if you like what you're hearing, if you're listening to us on your handheld device, or are you watching us on Twitch right now, either way, if you like what you hear, you should follow us on Twitter at Impact_GamingCM, on YouTube. Check out our channel at Impact Gaming Videos, where we will post the podcast afterwards. Or just look for us on iTunes. If you haven't already, tell your friends about us. If you like what you have to, if you want to say something nice about us, rather, subscribe, leave us a review. That would be fucking awesome. And if you'd like to play some of the games with our illustrious 6 years almost running now gaming community, check us out at www.impact-gaming.us. And feel free to hop on board with any of our current chapters. We are playing The Division. We are playing Ark, Final Fantasy XIV. Occasionally we do Friday night game nights. Naughtius and likes to play Vermintide occasionally. We do some Rocket League on occasion. Papa definitely does more Rocket League than I do. Fainer and friends play some Smite. They're going to be playing WoW when Legion comes out in the fall as well. Lots of other small stuff that we pick up and put down at times. So if you are into any of that, come check us out. Apply on the website, send us an email, whatever. Just get involved here at Impact Gaming Community, and we will be your friends. But in the meantime, do all that. We will see you guys again Sunday, April 3rd for our 61st episode right here on twitch.tv/GrayGeraldin and all the other places that we post the podcast. So thanks for listening, guys, and until next time, game on.